The most interesting guests in the music industry, entertainment, art, and politics step into the studio for Turning Point with Frank MacKay.
You may not know this name yet, but Megan Etcheberry is one of the stars of the new A&E reality show Rodeo Girls. Megan talks with Frank about her unusual life traveling from rodeo to rodeo, pursuing her dreams in business, and how she always stays true to herself. Let's listen.
And now, Turning Point with Frank MacKay.
Welcome to Turning Point. Our very special guest today is Megan Etcheberry. She's the star of the new upcoming A&E show Rodeo Girls. Megan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. And I know I know you can't give out too much information on the show, but when is the show going to air? Can you tell that?
There's no set date for air yet. It should be sometime this fall, but I really don't know right now.
All right, very good. Can you give a premise of the show?
I can't say much about it. It is called Rodeo Girls, so it does follow some girls around rodeoing and following our life, doing what we do.
How long have you been doing this lifestyle?
I started competing when I was in high school, and I just got the bug, and I loved it, and I've been going ever since.
And what do you participate in? A little bit of everything, roping and you're wrestling steers and all that?
No, unfortunately, stay away from all the men's sports. But there's one sport in a professional rodeo that the girls compete in, and it's called barrel racing. There's 3 barrels in an arena, and we're on race horses pretty much. And we run in there, we do a cloverleaf pattern around the barrels, and the fastest time wins.
And how long have you been doing that? High school?
Yeah, I started when I was a junior in high school. My mom did it when she was growing up, all throughout high school and college, and she quit when she settled down to have a family. But she always encouraged me to ride horses and take English lessons. And I really didn't like it. So to get out of doing English, I told her, well, I'll start barrel racing. And I just fell in love with it. So I started doing high school rodeo and just turned into doing the pro rodeo. And so my mom started competing too because she was tired of driving me around. So we do it together, and it's really fun.
Megan Etcheberry is our special guest. She's the star of the new A&E show, Rodeo Girls. What part of the country are you from? I'm
from the Northwest. I live in Oregon, but we travel all over the country.
I was going to say, it didn't sound like you were from Brooklyn.
No, not. A little farther away.
How much traveling do you actually do?
We travel all year long. So in the winter, when it's cold up here, I go down to the south and follow the warm weather, and then in the summer come back up to the Northwest.
So how much time at home do you actually spend?
Oh, it varies. I could be on the road for months at a time and come home for a week or two, or I could just come home for a day. So it depends on what I enter and what I decide to go to.
You know, I know a lot of folks that were involved with circuses, and I guess rodeos as well. But it's sort of a similar lifestyle. Am I right?
Yeah, I call it my gypsy life. We pack up, head to the next one, spend the night, head to the next one. It's a lot similar to that.
How does that do for you relationship-wise? Are you in a relationship?
Oh, no. That is the topic of conversation a lot. It makes for a non-existent personal life because I'm never at one place for too long and bounce around all the time. So at this point in my life, it's not too much of a concern. I'm doing what I love to do, and that's all I could ask for.
Now, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 22.
You're 22, and no children?
No. Thankfully, no children.
Well, one day, is that a consideration?
Definitely. I mean, this isn't what I want to do for a career. A lot of people do make a living doing this, but that's a really hard way to live, having to win your money. It's just gambling. So when this is done, I'll always have horses, but I do want to settle down and have a family and all that.
Megan Etcheberry is our very special guest. She's the star of the new show on A&E called Rodeo Girls. And Megan is, as you told us, is from Oregon. And the traveling you do, is it all competition, or are you on salary from any particular rodeo, or you just go from place to place?
No, you just have to go from place to place and win. Each rodeo is different about how many slots they'll pay for money, but usually the top 10 competitors will get a check, and it varies about how much money you make. So if that's your only source of income, you better be winning to support all the gas and your horse bills and the feed and the entry fees. It's a very expensive hobby.
How many horses do you travel with?
I travel with 2. I got to have a backup just in case something happens to my main horse. Some people travel with like 5 or 6 because there's always horses they're training and bringing up and trying to sell.
What are your weekly expenses, if you don't mind me asking, on horses alone? Feeding them and...
Oh, man. You have to get their feet done and put shoes on them, which is very expensive. You got to feed them, all their medical bills. They're always getting hurt. Something's going wrong. You got your gas to get down the road, your entry fees. There's a lot that goes into it.
Well, no question. What about the prizes? What type of prize can you expect to win or hope to win?
Well, the great thing about rodeos is unlike other sports, you don't just win a ribbon. You win a check, sometimes a belt buckle, sometimes a saddle. There's different trinkets you can win, but we all go for the money.
Yeah, and what's the most you've ever won?
The most I've ever won just been like at barrel races, not in a big rodeo, because I'm on a new horse and we're still a rookie at this. Almost 1,000, but not too much. You can win up to like $18,000, or if you make it to the nationals, they can win like $20,000, $30,000.
Megan Etcheberry is our very, very special guest, and she is the star of the new A&E show called Rodeo Girls. And I saw a picture of you, Megan, and I say this with all due respect. You're a very lovely lady, and I'm sure that plays into the reality TV show. I mean, if you look like Jabba the Hutt, they wouldn't be following you around with cameras, right? So. Yeah,
probably not.
Yeah. Now, what about some of your competitors? Maybe some of the girls that may not have the same attributes, look-wise as you. Are you hearing any heat from them that, well, she's not as good as us, or she's getting this just because of her looks? Are you getting any of that?
Can't pay attention to that. I think that the cast of the show, everyone's very beautiful, and I don't think that we're anything special or out of the ordinary. There's very, very beautiful women that compete in rodeos.
How many rodeos a year do you compete in?
It depends. I just have a new horse this year, so I'll be able to rodeo full-time. My horse last year got hurt, so I didn't go to that many, but you can go to like 2 to 5 rodeos a week if you want. So it depends on how much you want to rodeo. I'm going to take the fall off and then start this winter, and I'm going to try to go to like 4 to 7 rodeos a month.
Yeah, now I know you kind of have the gag order on for this, but have you shot the shows yet, or you haven't shot any TV shows yet?
It's in editing right now. The whole show's already shot.
And how many did you sign for? Can you say that?
I can't. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay. Well, hopefully we'll be seeing you in the fall. Megan Etcheberry is our special guest, star of Rodeo Girls, new A&E show, and Megan Etcheberry is our very special guest. She's the star of the new show on A&E called Rodeo Girls.
Turning Point with Frank MacKay returns right after this. Welcome back to Turning Point with Frank MacKay.
Our special guest, if you're just tuning in, is Megan Etcheberry, and she is the star of the new reality show on A&E called Rodeo Girls. Are you a fan of reality shows?
I am, and since we've been doing Rodeo Girls, my reality show viewing has skyrocketed.
Yeah, your viewing?
Yes, I have been watching all the reality shows I can.
What are you watching? Give us an example.
All the Housewives shows, Duck Dynasty, all those. I love them all.
It's amazing. I never heard of Duck Dynasty in my life until I went down south, and it was all over the place. And when I came back up here, and I said to a couple of people, did you ever hear of Duck Dynasty? They said it's huge. It's a huge show.
Yeah, it's the #1 reality show there is right now.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, as far as a show like that goes, I mean, who would think? Who would think something like that would go? But I always ask the people. You know, we had people like Teresa and Joe from the Real Housewives, and people from the Jersey Shore, and people like that. I always ask the same question, and the question is how real are reality shows? Do you find that the directors are saying, no, you got to do a little more of this, or that's not what we want. This is what we want. How real are these shows?
Well, that's a very hard thing to explain, and I've tried to my friends and family, but it is real. Everything that it's based on is real. Of course, it's played up a little bit because it is entertainment, and normal life isn't super entertaining, so everything's enhanced. But when it comes down to it, I think that the issues that we get into are very real issues.
Megan Etcheberry, in case you're just tuning in now, is our special guest here on Turning Point, and she is the star of the brand new TV reality show called Rodeo Girls. And I imagine it's self-explanatory. It's all about girls. There's no rodeo guys here. Is that a little prejudicial?
Oh, well, I mean, the whole rodeos are at the men's field, but we got one event. But we do have a couple guys that make an appearance on our show.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Nobody cares about watching rodeo guys. They're going to be watching the rodeo girls, I'm sure. So, can we ask you how you were approached on this?
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, you can. Okay, that's fine.
Explain that one.
Yeah. Do you have an agent?
No, I don't.
You don't. So you're just kind of doing this on your own, which is great. And you know, it seems like reality TV is not going anywhere too fast. People are interested in it, and more and more people are focusing in on it. And the producers realize it's a cheap form of inexpensive, I should say, form of programming. So, I mean, as far as this goes, I mean, this, you know, and the subject, I mean, you could have a tremendous viewership. We happen to be appearing, or the show is heard on many country stations, and I imagine you're going to get guests or viewers from the same people that like country music. Are you a fan of country music?
I am. I'm a fan of most all kinds of music, but rodeoing, we do get a lot of country.
Now, where in Oregon are you from?
I'm from Newburgh. It's just outside of Portland.
Okay, so you're not far from...
I'm pretty much a city girl, too. I'm a city girl that rodeos.
Yeah, right. I mean, Portland's a beautiful city, but it's not the big city. It's kind of, you know, it's kind of a small town city feel, but it is nice. Are you a sports fan?
I am. I'm the biggest fan of my little brother's high school football team right now.
Big deal up there, right? And
yes.
Great Northwest rather. Football is a huge deal, well, just like it is in other parts of the country. But that's a big deal. Your first rodeo that you've ever seen, what was that?
My first rodeo, well, I went to my grandma's house every summer growing up, and there's always the junior rodeo that came to town. So that was the first rodeo that I ever saw.
And you were smitten by it, or did it bore you? How old were you?
Oh, man, I must have been just really young, like 3 years old. But so I was always like in that lifestyle. But the first like professional rodeo I saw was the St. Paul Rodeo, and it's really close to home here, and it's a very, very large arena. And when I saw the girls running out into the arena on these race horses just flying, I just was so amazed, and I'd never seen anything that competitive and that fast, and I just knew that that's what I wanted to do.
Do you remember being 3 years old and at the rodeo, or do you remember because people reminded you of it, or you saw pictures of it? Do you actually remember the rodeo itself?
I've been every year since I was 3, so it all kind of blurs together. But
I can see that. So, you know, getting back to your travels, all right, so you're off the road now for a little while. When do you expect to be going back?
Well, I'm giving my horse a little break at the moment because our season is pretty much done up here. And I'm going to give her a little time off, and then in November, I'll probably head down to Arizona and start conditioning and competing.
And when you say conditioning, you're talking about the horse, yourself, or both?
Well, both. The horse has to be in shape to run as fast as she can and not get hurt. And I got to be in shape, too, to ride her.
Megan Etcheberry, again, the star of Rodeo Girls, is our special guest, A&E's new television show, reality show. And what do you do for conditioning? What kind of workout regimen do you have?
Just a little bit of everything. I work out with weights because I got to be strong to control a 1,500-pound animal. I have good cardio, everything. It's not easy controlling a 1,500-pound animal at full speed.
Right. Well, you're an athlete. It's not simply like you're a reality show like Snooki or one of the other, and you want to keep in shape just to look good on TV. I mean, it's necessary, right? In order to compete, you need to be, physically fit. Yeah, it's a tough deal, and there's some serious things that can go wrong, and you can get really hurt. And we had a couple incidents on the show that just proves that you got to be on top of your game because it's a dangerous sport. Yeah. Have you ever been seriously hurt?
Luckily, I haven't. Competing, I've never broken anything or fallen off, but there's many people that have had career-ending injuries from this sport.
I don't know if you've ever been kicked by a horse. Have you?
Yeah, I've been trampled.
Yeah, you've been trampled, in other words, stepped on, but not kicked?
No, I haven't been straight on kicked because that would not feel too good.
About 20 years ago, I knew some people that were into horses and the same thing, Western riding and so forth. And outside of a stable with, about 20 horses, there was a dog walking around, and he had a big dent in his head. I've never seen anything like it in my life, but it was like his skull. He was healthy, other than the fact that his poor skull was it was crushed in. It was like indented. I don't know if you've ever seen anything like that, but it was amazing. And I just said, you got to be. He's lucky he's alive. The poor dog. But nothing like that, right? You haven't gotten kicked straight on.
No, I've got my feet stepped on enough, but luckily that's as worse as it's going to get.
Megan Etcheberry is our very special guest. She's the star of the new show on A&E called Rodeo Girls.
Turning Point with Frank MacKay returns right after this. Welcome back to Turning Point with Frank MacKay.
Our special guest, if you're just tuning in, is Megan Etcheberry, and she is the star of the new reality show on A&E called Rodeo Girls. What do you expect? And again, without getting too much, I know there's a gag order and so forth, but what are you hoping to get from this point on? Is there a reality star that you see and say, boy, I'd like what she's got or what he's got?
Well, I didn't approach this show looking for anything, and I just wanted to show the world what we do and what we love. But it is an awesome opportunity and a big door that's opened, and I see someone like Lauren Conrad who's gone out and just made an empire of the celebrity she's gotten from her show, and I just really respect what she's done in a business sense. So I would like to emulate something like that.
Megan Etcheberry, once again, is our special guest, star of Rodeo Girls. Megan, what type of family background do you come from? Are you a wealthy family, a poor family, a middle class, lower middle class? What would you, upper middle class? What would you say?
Yeah, I definitely come from a family with means. I'm very, very blessed to have the support of my family behind me. My parents are divorced, but both my mom and dad are just completely supportive, and I'm very, very blessed. And
so you had some start. Well, obviously you have a horse, right? So I mean, it's hard to be poor and have a horse. People like Bruce Springsteen and Mayor Michael Bloomberg, who, is the mayor of New York currently. They both have daughters that are heavily involved with the equestrian field, and I know not everyone has that type of means, but the majority of the women, young ladies that are working with you on the show, do they come from a higher end background economically?
There's all kinds. There's one lady on this show that has more money than all of us put together. There's somebody on the show that comes from nothing and really has nothing, and it's a really struggle for her to go down the road, and she doesn't really have anything to fall back on. And then there's all of us in between, so it really varies.
Well, that's interesting. It's a kind of a melting pot economically of guests. Are you finding yourself, I was going to say attracted, but I meant friendship-wise. Are you developing strong friendships with one or more of the women that you're on the show with?
I have friendships with everybody on the show. I always joke that I'm Switzerland and everything. I'm just friends with everybody, and I have formed really strong relationships with these women, and they're all very unique and just amazing at what they do.
There was and maybe I have the last name, maybe I'm spelling it wrong, but there was a catcher on the Baltimore Orioles years ago, Andy Etcheberry. No relation?
I don't know that, but we're probably related because I'm Basque, and Etch is a common last name. So my mom's last name is Etchebarn. My dad's last name is Etcheberry. And there's a guy from our circuit that rodeos that's Etcheberry. So there's a lot of us around. Yeah,
what's the origin of the name? Where are your grandparents
from? We're Basque. All my grandparents were born in the Basque country in southern France.
Oh, no kidding. Okay, I got you. That's interesting. Yeah, well, that's interesting. What generation is your family? How long have they been in Oregon?
My mom's dad came over from France when he was 16, and then my mom's mom was born here. So I'm third generation for the most part.
What did they do over in France? Was it a equestrian family, or is it something else?
No, we're all sheep herders in the Basque country, and so that's what we did coming to America, herd sheep.
Well, I'm sure there's some horses involved in herding sheep, right? Even back then.
Some pack horses to haul their gear around.
What was your high school like?
I went to Wilsonville High School, and I think I was probably the only person that knew what rodeo was in the high school. But I started out at a Christian high school that was very small. There was not even 1,000 kids in it. And so I didn't like that too much. So I switched when I was a sophomore.
Now, the 1,000 kids, was that all grades, or was that just graduating class?
No, that was all the grades.
Yeah, that's a small school, right? By any means, that's a small school.
Yes.
Now, how long do horses last when they do this type of riding, Western riding? Do they tend to last, years doing it? 10 years, 5 years, 3 years? What's the timeline of a horse?
All horses are different. They can usually start out when they're 4 years old, and takes them a couple years to get into it. And then if they can rodeo or not is a whole different deal, because the pressure and the crowds and the lights, and not all horses can handle that. So some can last up to 18 years old. So that's a very, very long time to run and compete. And some horses last just a couple years. It depends on the heart they have.
Now, pardon the ignorance, but are they thoroughbreds? That's what you're racing?
Most of the horses we race are quarter horses. Some have a little bit different breeding, but we mostly race competitive quarter horses.
Our special guest, if you're just tuning in, is Megan Etcheberry, and she is the star of the new reality show on A&E called Rodeo Girls. Megan, what was the turning point in your life, or if you prefer, what was the turning point in your career?
Well, the turning point in my life was when I was a senior in high school. All throughout high school, I didn't really take horses or really anything too seriously. I was kind of a crazy party girl. And it came to a head. My mom had enough, and she sent me to live in Europe with my brother. And when I was there, I just realized this is not a good path to be on. So I dedicated my life to God. I switched everything around. I came back and was serious about my life, about horses, and I just really buckled down and put in the work. And then I really started seeing things change and happen, and that was definitely the changing point of my life.
Now, does that mean you party not at all now, or are you just kind of a little more moderate with your lifestyle?
Well, I'm more mellow. I'll go out and have a good time and definitely be social with my friends, but not to the extent of doing stupid things or things that I would regret the next day.
Now, when you talk friends, and again, we spoke earlier about having relationships or whatever, but that aside, I'm just talking about friends, having girlfriends or just, platonic friends. When you mention friends, are you talking about folks that you're on the road with and you constantly see on the circuit, or are you talking about folks at home that you come back to?
Well, I used to have a lot of okay friends, and now I've just whittled that down, and I have a handful of amazing friends at home, and they keep me grounded, keep my head on straight, and it's always nice to come home and connect with them and just get back down to earth. Because when I'm on the road, I have my rodeo friends, and we see each other at the rodeos, but we live all over the country. So that's just a little different. We're kind of out of touch with reality when we're on the road. So it's nice to come home and have my friends that are just grounded and always here.
Well, this is very exciting, and this must be exciting times for you. It sounds like you're gonna do very well in the spotlight. It sounds like your show is going to do amazingly well. I think there's a big market for it. But what the heck do I know? Anything you'd like? That you'd like to add? Is there a website that you could point us to, or do you have a personal site or a Twitter or something like that?
Yeah, definitely. You can follow me at Twitter or Instagram at Meg Etch, or on Facebook. It's facebook.com/EtcheberryM.
Well, congratulations on your show and the opportunity you have here, and good luck to you on the same. And again, Megan Etcheberry has been our wonderful guest, and good luck to you. And I know it's difficult doing an interview without giving too much information out. So, well, thank you. Thanks for your time. And if there's anything you want to add, please add.
Thank you very much.
All right. Megan Etcheberry, everyone. Tune in when you hear about it. It's Rodeo Girls. It's supposed to be wonderful. A wonderful young lady, very grounded. And I'm sure she's going to make a lot of noise out there. Thanks for tuning in.